You're watching TAG TV. You're watching TAG TV.
Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a program that talks about breeding of terrorism and its impact on South Asian nations. Let's begin with the headlines first. China blocks UN sanctions on Pakistan-backed terrorist Masood Azhar, draws widespread criticism. Pakistan slammed in United Nations for its consistent support to terror. Key conspirator of Pulwama terror attack neutralized by Indian security forces. India exposes Pakistan's lies behind Balakot terror training camps. And no Afghan peace deal even after marathon rounds of talks between Afghan Taliban negotiators. China has once again proved its unwavering support to its all-weather ally Pakistan by blocking the proposal to get Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar designated as a global terrorist under United Nations Security Council 1267 Sanctions Committee. The veto-wielding permanent member of UN Security Council, China drew flak from the global community post its decision to safeguard the most wanted terrorist from UN sanctions, a report.
Upholding its legacy of safeguarding terrorist patronage in Pakistan, China has again placed a technical hold on listing of Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar at the United Nations Security Council 1267 Committee. Washing its hands off the matter, a representative from Chinese Foreign Ministry asserted the Beijing stance on the issue of backlisting Masood Azhar and appealed to the UNSC committee to engage relevant countries in a dialogue or negotiations.
就中方而言，我们真诚地希望1267委员会的有关行动能够有助于有关国家通过对话协商解决问题，避免对地区的和平稳定增添复杂因素。
China's prevention against Jaish-e-Mohammed, a Pak-based terrorist outfit that claimed responsibility for deadly Pulwama attack in Kashmir, has brought disappointment for the global community. Riled over China blocking a move to designate Masood Azhar as a global terrorist, US warned that they may be forced to pursue other actions if Beijing continues with its policy. A US diplomat condemning China said if China is serious about these goals, it should not protect terrorists from Pakistan or any other country from being held accountable to the Council. If China continues to block this designation, responsible member states may be forced to pursue other actions at the Security Council. It should not have to come to that. This was fourth in a row when Beijing, with no rationale, prevented the Sanctions Committee from sanctioning Azhar under terrorist list that could have put the terrorist to arms embargo, travel ban and asset freeze.
China's use of its technical hold as far as the Masood Azhar case is concerned is disappointing, but it should not come as a surprise, because in the run-up to this particular decision, I think whatever signals emanated from Beijing, if one had read the subtext, I would say that it was fairly clear that Beijing was not going to quote-unquote abandon its support to Pakistan, which it calls an iron brother, and give it this uncritical support when it comes to terrorism. And clearly China is also quite oblivious to prevailing global opinion on the subject. And I think this really poses a very major challenge to not only India but the global community in terms of how to deal with the larger challenge of terrorism emanating from terror groups and their ideology, as we have seen in the case of Pakistan.
Beijing's response to terrorism has always been driven by its narrow approach and geostrategic investment it has done in Pakistan for years. Exposing its double standards on terrorism, China recognizes Masood Azhar's influence on radicalized elements to safeguard its own strategic and economic interests in the region. China's U-turn on Masood Azhar and backing Pakistan in shielding the most wanted terrorist has rekindled the international community to move other ways in their fight against Pak-based terrorism.
While at one side, Pakistan emerged victorious in United Nations Security Council in protecting Masood Azhar at the behest of China, at the other side, the participants of the 40th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council condemned Pakistan for bringing the world to the brink of war in order to defend its terrorists. The organizations representing various countries and continents in the United Nations Human Rights Council expressed grave concerns about the vulnerable security situation in South Asia. They asserted that security situation in South Asia has become sensitive because of the hundreds of terrorist organizations operating in Pakistan and being used as strategic assets by the Pakistani military establishment.
Amid a growing international pressure, a flustered Pakistan received a shot in the arm as Masood Azhar, its favorite soldier, managed to escape United Nations 1267 sanctions list yet again, owing to China stonewalling the move to declare him a global terrorist. While Islamabad was in celebratory mode, the international diplomats gathered in the 40th session of UNHRC raised serious concerns over the threat of nuclear security in the wake of recent conflict between Pakistan and India, followed by Pulwama terror attack. Speaking during an event of the United Nations Human Rights Council, the panel of academics, former diplomats and independent military researchers deliberated upon the growing terrorism in Pakistan and its implications for the nuclear security of South Asia and the world.
This is the time to review the situation, to dismantle all these terror operating groups wherever they are, whether in Pakistan administered Kashmir or they are operating in Pakistan. Pakistan government need to take some responsibility and get rid of these non-state actors, because they are destroying not only the local but the international peace.
While giving an intervention during the 40th session, Joanna Barakova, a research analyst in EFSAS, mentioned the recent terror attack on the Indian security forces in Pulwama district of Jammu and Kashmir, and said the Islamic Republic of Pakistan continues to use the terrorist outfits to engage in proxy warfare against its neighbors, and as a result, it was bringing the world to the brink of war.
In the wake of the recent terrorist attack in Pulwama and Indian-administered Jammu and Kashmir perpetrated by Jaish-e-Mohammed, Pakistan's subsequent airstrikes unveil an ugly truth. The country is willing to bring the world to the brink of war and threaten to use its nuclear arsenal just in order to defend its terrorists.
As Pakistan is becoming increasingly dangerous in the subcontinent owing to the terror factories on its land, the researchers of the international scholars reveal that the subcontinent is in real danger because of the growing extremism in the region. The Pulwama terror attack can be seen as a direct result of this growing Islamic fundamentalism in Islamabad.
Extremism is not favor of any sane persons. But unfortunately, Pakistan loses its wisdom, and always they are using terrorism as weapon. They are using religion, they are using terrorism. So that's why whole Pakistan is suffering. Pakistan civil society voices are suppressed by the terrorists, by the mullahs.
Over the years, Pakistan has gained the reputation of being a terror breeder and perpetrator, and now counted among the dreaded few for spreading mayhem across South Asia and globe. It not only provides resources and funds for terror proliferation, but also a political patronage to allow them to unleash their devious strategies in their own style. The country has repeatedly been exposed for its role in spreading terrorism across the world. Even after getting featured in the grey list of Financial Action Task Force, Pakistan has not taken any constructive step to curb terrorism. The birth and breeding of terrorism in Pakistan still continues at a rapid rate and will continue to be so until and unless a strict measure is taken against this terror facilitating state.
As the Pulwama terror attack completes 1 month, the Indian security forces dealt a major blow to Jaish-e-Mohammed by eliminating the key conspirator in the Pulwama bombing that killed 40 Indian CRPF personnel. The Pakistan-based terrorist group is not leaving even one stone unturned to unleash chaos in Jammu and Kashmir, as a result of which the Indian security forces are regularly cordoning off the state to ensure peace and safety for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. We have a report.
3 terrorists belonging to Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed or JEM terror group were neutralized by the Indian security forces in an encounter in the Tral area of Jammu and Kashmir this week. The key conspirator of the Pulwama terror attack, Mudassir Ahmed Khan, was one of the major targets of the security forces. Khan was eventually eliminated in the gunfight that broke out between the Indian security forces and the terrorists on 10th March 2019. Pakistan has been regularly facilitating terrorists to infiltrate into Indian territory. But following the Pulwama CRPF bombing, the Indian security forces are on high alert and have eliminated large number of Pakistan-backed terrorists who have infiltrated into Jammu and Kashmir.
Ever since Pulwama convoy attack on 14th of February, the first operation was on 18th February, and in last 21 days, we have been getting after the JEM, and we have eliminated 18 terrorists so far in last 21 days. Out of them, 14 being from JEM, and 6 of them their main commanders. And we have also eliminated JEM's second commander, Mudassir, who was active for more than a year now and was the main conspirator in the National Highway convoy attack on the CRPF convoy. Kamran, like I told you last time, was eliminated on 17th and 18th, and today we have eliminated Mudassir of Mandura village, Tral.
Indian security forces launched a cordon and search operation in Pinglish area of Tral after receiving specific intelligence input about the presence of the terrorists in the area. The tip-off led to a fierce gun battle between the two parties that led to the death of 3 most wanted terrorists in the valley. The killing of Mudassir Khan is a significant dent on the Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group operating in the Kashmir on the guidance of Pakistan-based terrorist Masood Azhar.
Our main emphasis after the 14th of February convoy attack was elimination of the JEM leadership, and we have been very successful in doing that in about 3 weeks' time ever since that time.
Several incriminating materials were recovered from the encounter site, including arms and ammunition. On the basis of the incriminating material recovered from the site, it has been revealed that one of the terrorists killed in the encounter was a Pakistani national with the code name Khalid. They had several cases registered against them and were wanted by authorities for their complicity in a series of terror crimes, including attacks on security establishments and civilian atrocities.
However, the initial input suggests there was also a terrorist who has been eliminated by a codename Khalid of Pakistan, JEM. As I was telling you, out of the 18 terrorists killed so far, 8 are Pakistanis and 10 are the local terrorists, including 2 of LET and 2 of Hizbul Mujahideen.
Ever since its birth in 1947, Pakistan has been indulging in proxy war and brinkmanship against India. Islamabad's constant hostility with India has waged 2 wars terminating in its much humiliation and defeat. Thus, it won't be wrong to state that being a country ruled by fundamentalism and terrorism, Pakistan remains engrossed in activities that do not have any place in the modern world.
It is not only the Indian Army that is engaged in its Operation All Out against terrorism. The recent airstrike by Indian Air Force in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is also a showcase of India's commitment towards total eradication of terrorists from the Asian soil. India's operation against Jaish-e-Mohammed pushed Pakistan on a defense mode, where it refused to even accept that the airstrike brought any damage to the terrorist training camps of Jaish-e-Mohammed. In order to conduct a fact check on Pakistan's false claims, journalists have repeatedly tried going to the site of a madrasa and a group of surrounding buildings that were targeted by Indian warplanes. But all the time, Pakistani security forces guarding the way to the terror training camps denied access to journalists, citing absurd reasons. Rebuking Pakistan's attitude, Indian External Minister asserted that Pakistan is hiding the facts from the world by blocking the access to the bombing site. We have a report.
In its attempt to prevent itself from facing grave embarrassment, Pakistan for the third time in a row restricted journalists from entering the site of Jaish-e-Mohammed terror camps, which was recently bombed by the Indian Air Force. The intelligence reports have revealed that the area, which is camouflaged under the name of religious schools or madrasa, is actually a training camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists. According to the Indian Foreign Ministry, Pakistan is hiding vital facts from the international community about the destruction of the terror training camps. Therefore, it is preventing journalists from accessing the site of the airstrike by the Indian fighter jets inside Pakistan.
You see, the fact that Pakistan has now refused access to journalists from visiting the site, it means that they have plenty to hide. So this initial bravado that everything is open, please come and visit, that has disappeared. But on the technical aspect which you have mentioned, you see, as to what has happened on which missile, etc., I can only say that we are absolutely confident that the strikes on Balakot has been successful and achieved the desired objectives.
Pakistan's heap of lies is gaining heights by each passing day. In a recently held press conference by the Indian External Ministry, Pakistan's untrue casual remarks on Indian airstrikes were reduced to sheer lies by Ravish Kumar, the Indian External Ministry spokesperson.
As Pakistan claims, they have a video recording of the downing of the second Indian aircraft. Why have they not shared the evidence or the video with the international media, even after more than 1 week? Questions should be asked to them as to where the fuselage of the aircraft is and what has happened to the pilots.
In its bid to launch an immediate retaliatory action against India, Pakistan violated the Indian airspace by using F-16 aircrafts that directly violates its deal with the US. As forced by its habit, Pakistan is once again trading on its lies by saying that it has not used the F-16 aircraft against India. Pakistan's blatant lies behind denial of using F-16 aircraft have been exposed several times by the Indian security forces and external ministry.
There is enough evidence to show that F-16s were used in this mission through the electronic signatures, and thereafter Pakistan is trying to hide this fact. Also, parts of AMRAAM air-to-air missile, which is carried only on the Pakistan F-16s, was recovered east of Rajouri within the Indian territory. Therefore, the fact remains that one F-16 of PAF was shot down by IF MiG-21 Bison.
Pakistan should explain why it continues to deny that its F-16 aircraft has been shot down. We have asked the United States to also examine whether the use of F-16 against India is in accordance with the terms and conditions of sale.
Amidst growing international pressure, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan recently said that no terrorist group would be allowed to operate from Pakistani soil to carry out attacks abroad. Since Islamabad has a history of making similar false pledges to stop terrorist attacks, therefore Pakistan government's recent statements holds minimum value. It has hardly taken action against the extremist Islamist groups who repeatedly launched terrorist attacks in India using Pakistan's soil. Notably, in early 2002, after a raid by Pakistani-based terrorists on India's parliament, Pakistan had made similar promises to curb terrorism, but the crackdowns that were launched with fanfare faded out after a while, with the proscribed groups able to survive and continue their operations.
Now Pakistan will be judged not by the words which they speak, but by the action which they take. The proof of action is not in issuing a notification in the Gazette, but now dismantling the actual infrastructure of terror on the ground, and also which should be verified.
Pakistan's lies are being exposed every day at various international forums. Whether it is about hiding the truth behind the Balakot training camps or the use of F-16 aircraft, Islamabad has been continuously misguiding the international terror watchdogs in order to safeguard itself from facing global embarrassment as it continues to provide state patronage to all the UN proscribed terrorist organizations.
Moving on to Afghanistan, the US and Taliban negotiators wrapped up the 16-day-long peace talks on comprehensive ceasefire and political settlement in the war-torn country, ending in no constructive agreement. Meanwhile, Pak-backed Taliban terrorists launched a fresh attack on Afghan security forces in western provinces of the country, a report.
Aimed at reaching final agreements on the issues of US troop withdrawal, ceasefire, counter-terrorism and inter-Afghan dialogue, the marathon rounds of peace talks between US and Taliban negotiators ended with no constructive agreement. American team led by Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad held multiple rounds of peace talks with Taliban's political chief Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar in Doha, but failed to bring Taliban and Afghan government on the same table. Meanwhile, Pakistan-backed Taliban terrorists, unnerving the peace negotiators, launched a fresh attack on Afghan security forces, killing 20 and taking 20 others hostage in the western provinces of Samandgan and Badghis. The 16-day-long peace talks were loomed with a number of Taliban attacks happening all across Afghanistan. The latest attack by Pak-backed Taliban in the Kabul city took 11 lives and left several injured. In another similar act of horror, Taliban terrorists killed 16 civilians in Jalalabad city of Afghanistan. In Helmand province of Afghanistan, 25 Afghan soldiers lost lives where Taliban militants targeted a large military establishment in the southern province. Lately, it has been observed that Taliban has shown a lot of inconsistency in its position. In spite of being involved in peace talks with the US, Taliban has been continuously launching attacks in Afghanistan. These attacks are in complete contradiction to Taliban's attempts of its image makeover. Taliban's fluctuating attitude towards the peace talks are a growing concern for both the US and the Afghan government. As Afghan government is seeking peace in the country, the USA is keen on withdrawing its troops from Afghanistan in order to reduce the huge military expenditure in the country.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Surbhi Sharma signing off on the behalf of entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye.